VA has something on their computer, company information, personal information of your customers, you're still liable for it if they get hacked, right?
Incredibly so. And in fact, it's
Hey everyone, this is Norm Farrar, aka the Beard Guy here, and welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing how your small business is at risk of cyber attacks. And guess what? I can speak from experience. We're also going to be talking about why should Amazon and e-commerce businesses make sure that they are cyber protected, the latest trends, and what's happening with cybersecurity today, and how small businesses can significantly reduce their overall risk. So welcome to another Lunch with Norm, the e-commerce and Amazon FBA podcast. Okay, so like I mentioned, today we're going to be talking about how small business is at risk of cyber attacks. Now, anybody who's listening, go out, reach out, get people to listen to this episode. It is so important. Everybody thinks that they're fine until they're not. And I'm going to get into what happened to me. And we've got an incredible expert with us today. And in matter of fact, he is a repeat guest. Our guest is the CEO of Transmosis, a nationally recognized cybersecurity workforce developer. Previously, he was the founder and CEO of Emerge Digital Group, named the 8th fastest growing company in America by revenue growth. He is a serial technology entrepreneur that founded the internet's first online video sharing platform, video search engine, and photo sharing service. I got to ask him about that. But returning guest, he'll be with us in a second, and that's Chase Norlin. But now let's have a word from our sponsor. Are you looking to quickly boost new Amazon product launches or scale up existing listings to reach first page positioning? The influencer platform Stack Influence can help. Stack Influence pushes high volume external traffic sales to Amazon listings using micro influencers that you only have to pay with your products. They've helped up-and-coming brands like Magic Spoon compete with Cheerios for top category positioning, while also helping Fortune 500 brands like Unilever launch their new products. Act now. It's one of the best times to get started with Stack Influence in preparation for October Prime Day sale and the holiday season. Sign up today at stackinfluence.com or click the link in this video and mention Norm, and you'll get 10% off your first campaign. Now, let's bring him on. Where's Chase?
There we go.
Hey, how are you?
Norm. Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Lots of scary stuff has happened since we last talked.
Yeah. Now, I'm just noticing that there's a hum in the microphone. I don't know if that's from your end or Kelsey, is that from our end?
There's no other. My window's open. I can close that. I don't think that's it.
No, I don't think that's it. But maybe it's just on my side. Okay, so let's get into this. So first of all, Chase, let's talk a little bit about what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, maybe set the stage here. You mentioned in the beginning, small businesses are at risk of cyber attack. It's actually much worse than that. They are the number one target for cyber attack today. And inversely, they are the least protected of any of the business categories. Small businesses are the least protected against cyber attacks. So that combination, of course, very scary situation. Almost 90% carry no cyber insurance, so equally scary. So there's no protection and there's no backup insurance to protect against that. So long story short, we recognized that, I think, very early on, being in the cybersecurity space for almost a decade now. And we set out to solve that. Another kind of interesting stat and why it's so scary for small businesses is the major cybersecurity companies in the world. You've heard of some of them, CrowdStrikes of the world, Sentinel One, you might have heard some of these names. They don't sell to the small business market. Literally, their businesses are not set up to sell to small businesses. So even if you wanted to get that, they really don't even sell it to you. And when they try to, the prices are just exorbitant. So there's no cost effective, flexible solution that protects small businesses from cyber attacks. So that's the kind of premise of it all. We set out to fix that, and we did. We launched a new product last year that's now getting a lot more attention, called eSure.AI. That's ESURE.AI. That is really the first enterprise solution, the first all-in-one cyber insurance protection solution for small businesses. The whole idea is, if the big guys get Bank of America, why did they get access to the best, most effective enterprise security technology to prevent ransom attacks, et cetera? Why can't the little companies get that? And that was our whole mission is to bring that big business cybersecurity to the small businesses with included cyber insurance, which we'll talk more about. That's what's so unique here, is that you can actually access all of this in a low-cost monthly subscription model. So we are out. Our mission is to protect small businesses at scale and to provide everything they need in one subscription model, essentially.
Now, I want to make this really clear. You're not on here because I want to make money. I don't believe there's any affiliate code. I don't think so. But
No.
if there is, let me know. We're not here for that. What we're trying to do is, I'm going to explain what happened to me, but I also want to explain why the personal virus stuff that's out there right now doesn't cut it. Like, if you're talking about a McAfee or a Norton, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about, it's nothing like this. Like nowadays, 20 years ago, you could slap on, McAfee and you could feel, kind of safe. You could get a Mac and feel kind of safe. You can't do that anymore. And you've got to have this, what I call a complete cybersecurity, not only just with what you're doing, but you've got to protect your website through ADA. You got to make sure that you have something that's on your website. You've got to make sure that you're protecting all elements of what you're doing online. And this, what you're producing, or what you have, is incredible. And I want to get into it. But before that, I want to tell everybody what happened. Not everybody, or not a lot of people know what happened, but a few months ago, I got hit. I woke up in the morning, turned on my computer, and I could see my computer load, but all my files were gone. 100% of my files, like when I was trying to get into my Apple account, it said it didn't exist. I knew it existed, then I have 2 Apple accounts. None of them were there. All my files were, like, I couldn't access them. And then on my phone, my SIM card on my phone wasn't working. So the account, on my phone was deleted. So I had no phone, I had no computer. So I called Apple. I was able to contact Apple, and I got in touch with tech support. They said, you don't exist. I said, I do exist. So they tried to resolve that one, and they got my ID back up. So, wow, I could log in. It was a completely different picture of me. It was me, but a much older picture, and nothing was there. It took weeks. I'm talking maybe a month, 5 different levels of escalation. I don't know, 20 calls. And finally, they couldn't get it. They backed up, like the backups that I had everywhere. So I had backup. I'm a backup nut. And, all the backups that were on my external hard drive, that were on my computer, gone. They couldn't find anything. So I was locked out of, and here's the biggest thing. If you're using Google Authenticator and you don't have a phone, or if you can't log into it, you're screwed. I was 4 weeks before I could get any of my contractors paid, any of my people paid. I couldn't send any money. It was like, and I use a virtual bank. So another problem. So now I had to think about, all right, how can this never happen again?
Yeah, you're
But
lucky you
during
weren't.
this time, yeah, during this time,
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
this fifth level guy at Apple said, oh, let's try something. So he got me to reboot my computer a different way than I normally would reboot it. We were able to log in, and then he says, okay, we're going to go into the bowels of your computer. And he found a single backup, which was not deleted. And thank God we hit that. And all of a sudden it started to repopulate. All the information was a month old, but at least I had something. And then with my phone, all I needed to do there, they burned my SIM card. So I had to get a new SIM card. And this all happened. Uh, I think I'm one of the more cautious people out there when it comes to all of this. And also, just another thing, I can tell you when you're thinking about cybersecurity, it's not if, it's when. Every single member of my family have been hacked, including Kelsey with his credit cards. So every single member of my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my with Kelsey. I don't think Connie's been hacked. Knock on wood. But anyways, that's the backstory, and that's why I wanted to get you on here.
Yeah. Well, you're lucky you weren't ransomed, actually, because that's usually what happens after they lock you out or steal all your data, is that you got to pay to get it back.
Yeah.
So you're actually kind of lucky that you figured that out on your own. Most attacks like that are not so lucky. The data's gone, sometimes forever, or you got to pay to get it back and hope that if you make the payment that you actually get the access to the data again. So yeah, you're kind of lucky there. So that is a very common attack profile. So just to talk about that a little bit, what that is an attack against your endpoint. So endpoints are your computer's desktop, laptop, or server, sometimes a phone, sometimes an iPad, but typically it's your work computer. If you're working from home, makes actually the situation much more scary because you don't have typically as much security in the home environment, and these wireless routers. I don't know where this happened to you. Was it in the office or home?
At home.
At home, yeah, exactly. So it's even more risky at home because essentially you're operating with wireless routers that are not very secure. You got all these different Alexa and IoT devices sitting in the house, and all of those are essentially open to the world. And that's probably how they got to you, because what all these hackers are trying to do, and this is actually why we exist, is they're going to get onto your Wi-Fi and your router, onto your wireless fridge, or even through your Alexa device, whatever it may be, wireless dishwasher now. But they don't stop there because there's nothing there, right? There's nothing, and they can't take anything from your fridge. So once they're on your network in your home, their objective is to get to the goodies. The goodies are your endpoints, your computers, of course, right? Because what they want is access to your computer, which means they can get access to your business. They can steal all your data, lock you out, ransom you. Like what happened to you, even get access to your cloud passwords. In your case, they were deactivated, but in a lot of cases, they'll just get access to online cloud password, bank passwords, steal everything that they can from the cloud, et cetera. So it's the endpoint that is really the scariest thing. And what a lot of small businesses don't understand, especially you got work from home employees, is if you have employees with computers, you're carrying millions of dollars of liability that you are not aware of today. So it's really scary. And they think that that other like LifeLock, that's identity theft. It's not insurance. So they might think that they're covered through other, their general liability policy with their insurer. It's not. So cyber insurance, total separate business, separate carve out. You are not covered today. If you think you are, you're not. You got to really dig into that. And the other thing is a lot of companies, business owners, even individuals, like you said earlier, they think that antivirus is enough to protect them. That is not the case. In fact, our tagline is purposefully beyond antivirus, because antivirus is, like you said, incredibly antiquated. It's static. And so it is not what Bank of America, for example, uses to protect their endpoints, where they got millions of employees, employees working from home with Bank of America laptops. They're not running antivirus. They are running enterprise level, usually AI powered endpoint security, which is typically very expensive. And that's exactly what we're bringing to the small business market. You
So
lock those endpoints down.
Yeah, one of the things I want to talk about, just something you just said about employees. So if you're working with contractors, so a lot of Amazon sellers, e-commerce sellers, they're working with VAs. So they end up paying it might be $3 to $15 an hour, in that range, mostly probably in the $4 or $5 an hour. They think they're getting a deal, and yet their computers are probably the most unsecure computers out there. And yet, if they get attacked and they access your company records, I'm not a lawyer, and I want to make sure that people are aware of this. But oops, I think Chase just left for us. Oh, he's coming back on. Okay, Chase is here again. Okay, so what I was just saying is, if your VA has something on their computer, company information, personal information of your customers, you're still liable for it if they get hacked, right?
Incredibly so. And in fact, it's a really good observation. So that's called third-party liability. So let's break down the liability here, a high level. So you're a business owner, you've got employees with computers. Like I said, you're carrying 7 figures of new cyber financial liability that you don't even know you have. That's the scary part. And that's why I'm constantly on these types of shows trying to evangelize, not just sell, but to evangelize that, so business owners understand that just by operating with a computer now, there's a whole new world of financial risk that just didn't exist before. And that's exactly the problem we have. And so what's happened is the big companies, the mid to large enterprises, Bank of America example again, of course, they got huge budgets and they got so much at risk. So they're the first guys to get all this buttoned up, right? And so what's happening is the small businesses are left out in the cold. And what happens is hackers look at that. What are they going to spend their time on? Trying to get into B of A that's got, $40 million budget or more, $400 million budget for their endpoint security? No, they're going to move to smaller companies where it's easier. It might be a smaller payday, but it's easier to get hacked. So that's essentially what's happening. So the liability is broken down into basically 3 big categories. You got employees, you're a business owner, you got employees with computers, or anyone with computers in your business. The first is first-party liability. So this is kind of what happened to you. You're directly attacked. You've got business, you're now down, right? So you were down for weeks. And so what that means, you got revenue loss from that business disruption. And so that's a direct first-party liability. And if it goes further and they lock you out of your data and you got to pay a ransom, add that on to the price of your business revenue loss and downtime. So that's multi-6-figure first-party, we call first-party financial liability. The second is what you just mentioned, which is third-party liability. So your business, if you're Ecom, whatever business you're in, you're usually connected to many different partners, bigger businesses, vendors, etc. And if they are implicated in your attack, that's called third-party financial liability. So they can sue you. Your business is liable for that. That's beyond multi-6-figure liability. That goes into the 7 figures. So that's called third-party financial liability, and that's really big. You add those 2 up, you're now multi-7-figure financial liability if you're a business owner operating with computers. The third bucket, a lot of people are not aware of, is we call compliance failure or compliance liability. So Ecom is a good example. If you're operating a website, you've got customers in your database, you're breached, that data is breached online, and in a lot of cases now, these hackers they're threatening to release your customer data online, right? So it's extortion, essentially. no longer just a ransom, it's actually extortionware. So if you don't pay us, we're going to release all your customer names online, which is going to be, of course, devastating to your business, because who's going to work with you again when you're so easily breached, right? So with that data breached and released online, almost every state now has these privacy acts. I'm sure you've heard of them. In the state of New York, it's called the SHIELD Act. In California, it's called the CCPA, the Consumer Privacy Act there. And those guys really kind of led the charge with these privacy acts. Half the states today have them. So if you've got customers in half of these states, which you probably do, especially New York, California, and that customer's name and data is breached online, get ready for a nice six-figure compliance fine from those states. So add that compliance failure to your first and third party liability, you're over $1 million in liability if you're breached. So very, very scary. Of course, like I said, I'm sure after hearing that, Norm, you realize how lucky you got out of that one. You were able to restore on your own, which is incredibly rare. So you're obviously a little bit more technical than most people, but you were obviously down for a month, so you probably had a lot of business impact on that.
A ton. People were, trying to reach out. I didn't even get these messages, but, are you back in business, or are you, what happened? I'm talking about WhatsApp. I'm talking every communication channel. There was no way to communicate with people. It was crazy.
Yeah.
But
one of the reputational damage, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the other things I don't think people realize, but for me, I'm an Apple nut. I've got my laptop that I'm talking on right now. I've got my iPad. I've got my other computer. I got another computer in the other room. I got an iMac upstairs. Every one of these computers has to have this type of, like, your app, eSure, on it to protect. So I'm talking about all of mine, my wife's. Like, even if there's a chance that my wife gets hacked, even though she's not related to the company, she should have this on her computer. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Like, all of
these. We always recommend that, because especially, again, you're in the home in this insecure, that is an incredibly insecure environment from a cybersecurity perspective. So think of like these wireless fridges, Alexa devices, your wireless router, your wife's computer. Those are all entry points into attacking your business, because that's what they want. They want access to your actual computer, where in this case you're running a business. It's more valuable than going after the home. We actually believe, though we have a consumer product too, we actually believe that consumers should have this type of security, just like small businesses should have, and the same type of cyber insurance. Because now another trend, what's happening is the hackers are going after the home. So they want your wife's computer because they may not be able to ransom it, but they got the cloud passwords there. And who knows what bank accounts are connected to her computer. So, people from home they're not running advanced security software. They're running old McAfee and, old,
Yep.
not to
not updated for 2 years.
All these antivirus, and also be like, some people think, oh, I got a VPN, I'm safe. That's not the case.
That was a question that Rad just asked. So, yeah, I'd like, after the break, I'd like you to talk about that for a second. But just something I got to tell you. There's another fun story. So my sister calls up. She's in a panic. She says, oh, Norm, you're into tech. Can you help me out? Okay, what's going on? Oh, there was a sign. There was a message that popped up that my computer was infected. So I clicked on it and I got these instructions. I followed it. Now they want $1,500. Is that real? Yeah, absolutely real. So I talked to her about it. 1 week later, my brother calls. Norm, I got a problem. It was the exact same thing. I don't know if it was just a trail that they followed, but it was the exact same thing, the exact same amount. And it was like, guys, don't click these stupid links. I thought, oh, I'll never get caught up in this. And I did, and I thought I was pretty savvy. But
Yeah,
okay.
that's
Uh,
a very common attack. That's kind of a classic phishing attack, right?
yeah,
Someone clicks on, in this case, it came up on the computer, which means they had already infiltrated that person's computer. It's even scarier. So those people, your friends and family there, that's a difficult situation. You need like a security team to fix that. And in a lot of
right.
cases, so they had already hacked that, probably from clicking on a bogus email, going to a bogus website that injected this malware into that host computer. So the key is to prevent all of that from happening in the beginning.
Okay, so it is the bottom of the hour, and typically we do a lunch with Norm or a wheel of Kelsey. What we're going to do today is we'll hold off on this. What we're going to do is we'll provide a press release for anybody who wants to um, uh, have a press release written for you or have a press release distributed for you, either one of those. And just let us know at the top of the hour. So hashtag Wheel of Kelsey or tag two people, you'll get a second entry. The other thing is we're going to post something in the WhatsApp group. So this prize today will be in the WhatsApp group. Now, before we get to the second part, I think we have another sponsor. Is that correct, Kels? Hey, Amazon sellers, ever faced account suspensions, ACE and hiccups, or IP headaches? Introducing Seller Basics, your Amazon account's guardian. With just $99 per month or code NORM, $89 a month, Seller Basics offers a dedicated team to shield your business from these challenges. Plus, this membership offers free legal consultations from seasoned e-commerce attorneys. And guess what? There's no long-term contracts, and you can cancel with just a month's notice. You can view Seller Basics as your Amazon account's health plan, and you can check them out at sellerbasics.com. Now for the disclaimers. Seller Basics is not an insurer or law firm. Consultations come from independent firms, results may vary, and membership is needed before events leading to claims. Oh, yeah, one other thing, terms apply. All right, we are back. Now let's get into some of these other topics. Now, just a sec. I wanted to talk to you about the effects, and we've touched on this, but why should Amazon and e-commerce businesses care about cybersecurity? Kind of obvious, but can we get more into it?
Yes. So I think the easiest way to think about that is, you're an Amazon seller, you're a business. So if you're a business, you are at risk. It's just to overly simplify this, especially if you're, like I said, you're a small business, you're in particularly at risk if you're selling products online and you've got consumer data, add that compliance and third-party risk onto it. You're connected to all these different partners and sellers. So you've got tremendous financial risk just by operating, simplest way to think about it, just by operating a digital business. Operating digitally, selling online, this didn't exist until the last, call it 10 years, right? So those risks didn't exist. Now everything is online, all selling is done online. And so anyone doing that is at tremendous risk, but the government or the market has not really properly educated the small businesses on that risk. You hear about it a lot through these horror stories, like your story, Norm, and you keep hearing about it. So that's people who are paying attention. You're a small business owner. This is exactly why we position and sell our product really more as a liability protection product or insurance product, instead of a cyber product, because small business owners, they don't understand typically cybersecurity technology, right? You're not going to be deep on that. You're a small business owner. Even if you are technically savvy, you're just not going to be deep on that. But you all know that you've got liability, and you all know you pay insurance. All of you running small businesses or selling on Amazon, you've got your general liability insurance. Everybody has to have that. So there's no mandate for cyber insurance. Maybe one day there will be a government mandate for cyber insurance. Our prediction is that every small business in the world will have some form of cyber insurance called next 5 years. So it's coming. It's just that will be mandated, probably, especially as this gets worse. If you're a small business owner, right now what's happening is it's the savviest small business owners that are taking advantage of this and getting ahead of the curve and protecting themselves, and insuring themselves. Or people like yourself, Norm, that have had an attack, they don't want it to happen again. By the way, the likelihood of a second attack is higher if you've had a first attack. So think about that. So you're
Well,
probably
thanks.
there you go. You're a bigger target now. Yeah.
Oh, all right. One of the other things I think we should talk about, and I realized I didn't do a good job of this before. I didn't really think about it, but authenticator. If I couldn't get to my authenticator, I I can't do anything. So a lot of the times I use my Google Authenticator for that second step, right? The two-step verification. So I did some research on it, and one of the things I was able to do, and you have to do this with somebody you trust. So my wife, one of my kids, but I showed them how to get into my Google Authenticator in case I ever need it again. So they just scanned it themselves. So all the ones that I had scanned, the QR codes, they were able to do the same way. So if anybody's got Google Authenticator, just be careful who you're sharing this with. But I don't know, I'll never have it just with one person. The other thing that is very scary is that if you have your emails your social media accounts all going back to the same account. So you have it on the exact same email that you signed up for, and your recovery is, let's say it's on the same domain, and you get hacked. Well, guess what? You're not going to get into your social media. And there's one other thing I want to talk about. Either LastPass. I don't know if OnePass. I don't use it. I have two password protection that I use: LastPass and RoboForm, and both of them have encryption, but they also have the recovery using a second user. So now Kelsey is one of the people that can recover my passwords in case that ever happens again. But you don't think about this. And I don't know if you have any other tips on, if you're crashed, what do you do?
Yeah. So you're definitely getting pretty savvy here. You might have to join the cybersecurity industry here. You're talking cyber hygiene, which is really important, cyber awareness. So you're doing all the right things there, especially the authenticator. That's really interesting because essentially they kind of hijacked your SIM card and your phone first, right? So you couldn't restore.
Right.
Now you can't restore, so now you got a second problem. MFA, obviously super critical. That's a requirement in most of these cyber insurance policies to have some kind of MFA in place. So that's all just more awareness you have. Passwords, huge issue, obviously. The more awareness you have, the more you are, of course, decreasing the potential possibility of an attack. But again, if they are set on attacking you, you're not going to be able to defend against it unless you are running, like I said, something that is an enterprise level security, where you've got sophisticated technology that's used to detecting that. Typically it's AI, and also something we're doing too, that Bank of America does, is running a security operations center, which we run. So that's human intelligence. So the biggest, best security you can have is endpoint security. This is what all the Fortune 5000 use. They've got some level of enterprise endpoint protection for their computers. Usually it's AI powered. So it's incredibly intelligent and compiling tremendous amounts of data to basically prevent before it happens, early detection, if you will. And then that AI is connected to what we call HI, human intelligence. So that's a security, 24/7 security operations center where you've got, like we provide, where you've got a team of 24/7 US-based security operations center, SOC analysts, you might have heard that term before, that are essentially sitting on top of the endpoint platform. So anytime there's a potential threat, the AI engine and the endpoint security is usually detecting it, preventing it, blocking it, taking action because it's AI powered, and then at the same time, sending an alert to our security ops team for them to investigate. So all that would happen before something like you described would happen to you, Norm, or your friends and family that you mentioned earlier. So that would all be detected early, blocked early, especially when you got a SOC team. They'll see it. They'll prevent that from spreading or from getting into your computer and locking you down.
So what happened? And by the way, for everybody who's listening, we got about 20 minutes to go. Try to reach out, try to get some people that get them over to the podcast. I don't usually ask this, but this is so important that either we're going to put it into the WhatsApp group once this gets published again and give it some extra promo, or get friends, get family to listen to the end part of this podcast, because it's important. I'm not selling anything. I just think it's that important. If it can happen to me, it can happen to anybody. So here's a question.
A good stat on that, Norm, you're kind of an anomaly. Something like 70% of small businesses are out of business within 6 months after a cyber attack or a breach. So wow. You were very, very fortunate.
Wow. That I was going to ask that question. How many businesses, what's the percentage of businesses that can go out of business because of something like this?
Yeah. I mean, what if you were locked down out for 6 months, right? Or 3 months? I mean, It's game over. If you're a smaller company, it's game over,
You can't get into your bank account.
Yeah.
It was crazy. So I got two questions here. First of all, what are some possible signs that this is happening? And second of all, what do you do if all of a sudden you get a text message or you get some email and you click on it and you go, oh crap, I just clicked on something I shouldn't have?
That's the crazy thing, is that there are not many signs that this is happening. So I'll give you an example. We've got many small business customers in every small business category: doctor's office, dentist offices, accounting firms, you name it, healthcare, etc. What they don't realize, what people in general don't realize, especially small businesses, is like right now you're under attack 24/7. Like the volume of inbound attacks that we see would just scare the living daylights out of you. So all of you are under attack right now, literally. And what's happening is, think of it as like, I use like kind of like an egg analogy. So, there's the cell nucleus, or cell analogy. There's a cell nucleus, which is the endpoint, and all of these outbound, call it minnows or whatever, they're trying to get to, think fertilization, think of that, right? They're trying to get to the core nucleus, which is, in this case, the endpoint. And there's the outer kind of barrier of the cell membrane, right? And that's what we're doing. And that's what all the big guys do. So what's happening is, think of it statistically, think of it this way. There's just thousands of ongoing, 24 hours a day attacks against the outer cell membrane. And those are all, in our case, the majority of those are being thwarted before they begin. But what happens is, if over a long enough time horizon, they eventually permeate the membrane and they get to the endpoint. So by the time they see that warning, that's typically too late. But if you're using someone like us, our SOC team can usually triage that and prevent that from turning into a catastrophe. But the key, though, is that making that outer cell membrane incredibly strong.
All right. Yeah, so important. Can't stress it. If you've gone through it, you don't know what to do. You're lost. And just actually, it was kind of nice being away from my phone for 4 weeks, yeah. But it's scary. Yeah, you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what they can do with that information. Like you were saying, do they release it? And even when I got back on, that was my fear, is now that they have all my information, what are they going to do with it? I ended up like getting in contact. I have a hit list. I have a list of who I have to contact in case of something like this. So all the credit cards were canceled all at once. I talked to the banks. I, just got everything I could in line, but there's always something that could happen. And Fingers
You're pretty
crossed.
lucky. It's kind of surprising that you weren't ransomed.
Yeah.
And these are organized groups, so they may have just been slow getting around to the ransom part. You just don't know. Normally, they're going to ransom you because you can't get your data, and they have a pretty good sense of your business and what you might pay, what the thresholds are. So that might have been a $15,000-$20,000 ransom. You might pay that, right, if you get frustrated enough. So, think about like if you're a doctor's office, if you're an accounting firm, law firm, financial services, you're managing people's money. Like this happens to you, it's very, very bad, right? And no one's
Right.
going to work with you again. Your business is done. So they know that. So then you got to pay your 150 average now $200,000 ransom to get that back and to avoid having your customers become notified that you were breached.
Yeah, it's similar to the ADA, like the creeps that go out and take down all these small businesses. They know if they ask for $100,000 is not going to work, but if they get 10,000 bucks out of you, you're going to pay it. You have to pay it. And we've talked about this on this podcast before, that it's not only this. You got to protect your website. You've got to protect, like, go out and make sure that you've got ADA insurance. Make sure that you're in compliance if you're selling anything with your merchant visa. Like, make sure that that's protected. That's a $250,000 fine right there if you get breached. There's a lot of areas that you have to think about when you start working with Ecom or in this online world. We do have a question. Anybody else has any questions? There's no dumb questions. So it's better to ask it now. We got the main guy here on the line, Chase, and he can answer it. But Rad's got another good question about how about backing the information into storage, cloud storage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I call that kind of the personal cyber hygiene part of that whole MFA. Using a password, better password technology, having good backups. So that's all highly recommended, and I would say just part of general personal or business hygiene, cyber hygiene. So you want to do that no matter what, because of course having, and of course using the big guy is always helpful. You're using Apple, so they were helpful, right? So that's good,
Yes.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and then that's really good. So same with Microsoft, if you're using Office or Azure, Office 365 Cloud, Google, of course, Google Apps. So those guys can all be helpful, of course, in making sure you always have a good backup in place, and maybe helping you restore when you get it, like they did with you, in this situation. But that is, like I said, you're an anomaly, because just calling up Apple and getting everything fixed you're crazy lucky.
Yeah, they said it was escalated to the 5th level, which whatever that is, who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe it
they've got
was
their
Cook
internal,
himself.
you got their internal Apple security team there probably helping you.
Right. So now I want to talk a little bit about your company, eSure, and you did mention about the consumer side of this. So can we talk a little bit about what the app does and how it protects?
Yes, thank you for asking. Appreciate it. So, if you've been following this whole podcast, the big problem is that for small businesses or for end users or consumers, that first of all, antivirus is incredibly antiquated. I'm not going to pick on any particular company. Any antivirus is antiquated. And also, there's a misunderstanding that I think a lot of people think, or even small business owners think, that LifeLock, all this identity theft advertising you hear, protect your identity and everything. There's tons of ads for that. LifeLock, Aura's got Robert Downey Jr. now. It's identity theft. It's not insurance. So if you're a small business owner, you're not running anything, most likely. We see a lot of small business owners running antivirus. They might have Norton LifeLock They think they're protected with the antivirus. They think that the identity theft is actually insurance, which it's not. It's only for your identity, which doesn't do much really at all. If you read the fine print, you can see the disclaimers on the LifeLock, and they're all now in Aura. And there's like 1,000-page disclaimer around identity theft. It's not insurance. So it's not protecting against all these other things I'm talking about. So, long story short, we realized that the small companies under a couple hundred employees, there's no product that provides an all-in-one solution to these problems for them. That's what we built. So at eSure.AI, we built that for small businesses. The whole idea: protect your endpoints. Again, where all this liability is, like we just talked about, all your employees with computers, protect that with the latest next generation endpoint, enterprise level endpoint security technology that you would see, like I said, a Fortune 500 company use, which is what we're providing. So it will lock, it's an AI powered platform. You will install it just like you install an antivirus product. So it's installed just like a software agent after you purchase that, and then click to install, and then it's now running on all of your machines. Once that is running on all of your machines, you have now the technology, like an AI powered engine that is protecting that endpoint. It's looking for all these anomalies, the things that happen to you, Norm, and your friends. It's looking for those, and it's actually seeing massive volumes of data. So it's able, with this AI power, it's pretty amazing. It's actually able to look at stuff long before it happens, flag it, and then take some action to prevent that from spreading or to prevent that from getting you to click on it, essentially. So, because a lot of these things are happening, most of it's happening behind the scenes, and you just don't see that as a consumer or as a business owner. You just don't see it. The second,
Is
there's
it
three
possible?
other.
Oh,
What's
I
that?
had a question about that. Can you install it on a router?
No, but there are. That's a good thing to do. What's happening now in the router space is Comcast or whoever your ISP is. They're now all upgrading the security of their routers because they know that's where a lot of these attacks originate. But there are enterprise level products you can use for the router if you want to get really hardcore. But if you want to do the first major step, you want to lock down your endpoints, which is what we're talking about here. Okay. So with our platform, we're going to lock the endpoint down with that technology. So it's AI powered all the time, looking around, protecting your computer against all these, like I said, thousands of threats happening daily. You click on the wrong link, you're on a malware site, they're trying to inject ransomware. That's what happened to you, Norm. It's a ransom attack. They're injecting something into your computer from clicking the wrong link or directly from a website because you clicked on the wrong website link. And we would see that before. That would be blocked. The other kind of cool thing here is that with us, that security technology we install is actually, once it's installed, it's connected to our live 24/7 security operations center. So there's a SOC team, much like you would see like at the NSA, for example, even Homeland Security, Bank of America. These guys all have their own SOCs, which is basically 24/7 security operations center team, human intelligence, like we talked about. So they're being alerted anytime something fishy is happening on your computer, essentially. They see that, they check, they see if the AI engine has blocked it or stopped it yet, and then they jump in if it needs more what we call remediation. And the final piece is, and we'll talk about this a little bit more, is we're the only company to have $1 million of pre-approved cyber insurance or liability protection attached to the product. This is an incredibly big deal. So what's happened is over the last few years, it's become, as you can imagine, increasingly difficult for small business owners to even get approved for cyber insurance today. Not to mention the pain in the ass of actually applying for it. 30-page application, you got to wait weeks and you don't know what you're doing there. It's a pain in the butt. It's a 50-50 shot if you're even approved today for a $1 million policy. And the reason is that, of course, that insurers are very nervous about all the potential claims that could happen to you because they really don't know, what technology are you using, and are you going to be breached? Is there going to be a claim? So the insurance companies are very nervous. So what we did was we took our platform, what we just described earlier, that endpoint security technology and that SOC, and we took that to all the major insurers, and we said, if our clients use this platform, can we include, cyber insurance cover, $1 million of cyber liability coverage with that, with our product? And they basically came back and said yes. So because that product, that having that endpoint security enterprise level with a SOC is not something that they would normally see in a small business, right? They're going to see that with Bank of America is going to have that. So of course, the major insurance companies will insure Bank of America because they're using that. But we were able to actually bring that to a small business owner. So the insurers are, of course, much more comfortable that there is going to be a significant decrease in potential breaches or attacks against our clients, and therefore a significantly reduced possibility of a claim. So basically all in one, you get the big boy protection, you get that 24/7 security operations center monitoring and protecting all of your employee computers 24 hours a day, and you got that backup $1 million of liability protection sitting there if something were to happen that has not happened yet.
All right. So Cool Hand Luke has a question here. Now this is after, so we pretty much know the first thing you would do is get this app. But let's say you don't have it. What are the 3 things you can avoid to ensure being hacked, other than just installing your app?
Cool Hand Luke, good question. So if you were here 10 minutes ago, we were going into all the cyber hygiene that's really important. So password protection, MFA, having that installed, just being more aware of your kind of overall environment and doing some preventative things like that. But I would say, without being self-promotional, whether you use us or not, number one thing I recommend friends and family, whether they're using eSure.AI or not, is you've got to lock down your endpoints, because something like 70 or 80% of all these ransom attacks, like Norm, yours was going to be a ransom attack, you just didn't know that. They're targeting the endpoint. So you've got to lock your employee computers down and your own computers down with the same hardcore tech that the big guys use. That is absolutely number one. Like I said, it's only a matter of time before we think every small business does this, just like the big guys do. Once you lock those endpoints down, you're going to sleep. And then by doing that, you're going to get some cyber insurance sitting behind that. You're going to sleep a lot better at night.
Right. And the difference between the small business and the commercial app?
Yeah, good questions there. So just to be clear, it's not an app per se. So this is a software agent. So it's installed, looks a lot like an antivirus product. So you would install it on your computer. So it's not an app necessarily for your phone, although we do have iOS, Chrome, and Android-based versions of this.
You do have iPhone coverage now.
Yeah, but again, if you want to go the extra mile. The core is protecting those endpoints, installing on every one of your computers, personal and business. So it's actually effectively the same product that we're bringing to the consumer market. Very, very new, because the consumer market we're very excited about. It's just going to take a lot longer to kind of develop that, a lot of marketing to develop that. But we think every consumer should have this, because consumers are falsely thinking that they're protected today when they're running antivirus and a VPN, or they've got identity theft insurance, which is not going to do anything if you're attacked like this.
All right. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. The only other thing I would ask is, what's this cost? Now, I look at this as an insurance, right? I'll pay for this, especially what happened to me. But what does it cost the average business per computer?
Yeah, we are actually cheaper than traditional cyber insurance. If you were lucky enough to even get approved for that, like I said, it's very, very iffy if you even get approved, depending on your industry. So right now, I mean, if you look, this is kind of to give you the landscape. If you're a small business, depending on your industry, you might, if you are lucky enough to be approved for like $1 million cyber insurance policy, you might expect to pay $10,000 to $15,000 per year. It's expensive, right? And it's expensive for a reason, because the insurers, of course, are nervous about claims. So with us, you're getting the technology, that's endorsed, if you will, by the insurers. You're getting the security operations center, and you're getting that $1 million of liability protection. And we wrap that in an all-you-can-eat, if you will, monthly subscription model. Everything's included. We're almost like the Amazon of kind of cyber insurance. It's kind of our vision here, to make it really easy to purchase, install, and activate. Our average price, and we can do a promotion for listeners of your podcast too, Norm, if you want to talk about that. Our average price for small businesses today is around $25 per computer per month, everything included. So just think about that. Like if you're a 20-person company, at $25 per computer per month, you probably got 25 computers. That's cheaper than just a standalone
That's
policy.
cheap.
You may not even get approved for that policy anyway.
Well, that's great. So we'll talk afterwards, but I'll also put the information into the WhatsApp group. But if you haven't got it, or if you're using these non-commercial grade antiviruses, or just these antiviruses in general, really think about what we've talked about today. It's so important that you get something that's truly going to protect you. It'll cost you in the long run. And it's really, at the end of the day, it's not if, it's when. And that's the scary part. It really is going to happen at some point. So,
that's exactly well said.
I think we've got to everything. I'll give one last chance. If you're interested in having a press release written for you, for your company, just give us a hashtag Wheel of Kelsey, tag 2 people. We'll add that. I guess we have one last sponsorship or shout out, and then we'll get over to the wheel. But you got about 30 seconds. And by the way, while we're waiting for that, Chase, how do people get a hold of your company?
Yeah, easy. www.eSure.AI, like you saw in the chat there. You can even send emails to us if you don't want to just buy directly from the site. Send me an email. Feel free to do it. Love helping small businesses and hearing what they're doing. It's chase@eSure.AI.
All right. And we got one last question. Does eSure.AI also back up the data?
We are not a backup solution, but we do recommend that. It's like we were just talking about before, Norm. Definitely recommend those of you serious about this, that listen to this whole podcast and are taking this stuff seriously, and you're a business owner. Of course, do all the hygiene, the cyber hygiene, your backups, your password, your MFA, and then get a product like this. Hopefully it's us. We've got lots of reviews online. Check it out yourself. Let me know. But there are other products you could use. They're very expensive, like I said. Or you could, like I said, you could try to get approved for just standalone cyber insurance, which is a pain in the butt. But do both.
All right. Very good. Okay, Kels, hit that button. Hey, everyone. If you've been watching this podcast, you know about the book by my friends, Colin C. Campbell, Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat. It's a #1 bestseller in many categories on Amazon, and it's also won multiple awards this year alone. The book has just come out with a series of workbooks. This one is Start. This workbook prompts you for questions and answers to make sure that you're on track for the perfect business plan. So check it out. It's the new workbook by Colin C. Campbell. Just Start. And he will be coming out with Scale, Exit, and Repeat. And if you don't have Start, Scale, Exit, Repeat, go and grab it. It's an awesome book. Right, we are back. Now it's time for the wheel.
It's time for the Wheel of Kelsey.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so here we go. We're going to shuffle these up. And if you are the winner, please email me k@lunchwithnorm.com. And it looks like our winner is Steve.
Okay, Steve Fillion.
All right. Congratulations, Steve.
Congrats,
If you
Steve.
email me k@lunchwithnorm.com.
All right. And Chase, we're going to put you in the back. We'll get to you in about a minute. And thank you for being on today. It was very informative and so useful. Like I said before, if you're not doing it, you got to get something on your computers to protect you. And if you're interested, check out eSure.AI. Want more great information? Don't forget to subscribe by clicking here. Also, if you want to check out our latest podcasts, click over here.
Lunch with